welcome back to Girl at the Con. Thank you so much for joining me. My face is still healing, so I am going to let Marc tell you all about Artemis, which is a cooperative video game. It is really fun, and I have been seeing it at conventions for years. I think that you will really enjoy it. And if you have anything that you want me to cover, please leave a comment below so that I can do that.
Well, welcome. This is our Artemis bridge here. Artemis is a simulation game. It's cooperative. And so players work together as a team to accomplish missions. So each station that a person's going to be at, and we'll show you those in a few minutes, is specifically programmed for that function. So it's a coordination game. You're going to coordinate between different players that are playing the game. And one player in particular doesn't have any workstation. That's the captain, the bossy pants over here. And the captain coordinates all the information from all the people and kind of keeps the mission moving forward. It's a PC-based game. Technically, it uses 5 workstations that represent different types of command functions on the bridge. First is comms over there, and we'll look at that in a minute. Comms is communications. So we'll go into details about that actually when we go to each station. After that is engineering, keeps the ships running. Helm drives the ship. Weapons, shoots things. And then finally sciences. Sciences keeps us informed of what's out there and what we can do with that, where to go, and what types of enemies we're running into and how to best affect those and how we are affecting those types of things. Sciences can also scan other types of things because we have all sorts of different types of missions. Not everything has to be combat in this game, which is great. There are multiple missions. Each of them have different difficulty levels. So we have missions that are kind of like a hunt, where you're going to hunt for certain information. We have explorer type missions, we have adventure missions, and we have combat missions too, because sometimes you want to go out and shoot stuff, right? So as a team, you're going to accomplish a mission. Usually you start out with comms. It's going to get an order from the starbase and from command. They're going to give us information about where we need to go, what we need to do, and then the captain will direct the crew to start doing those types of things. Average mission runs about 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes it can run longer, but that's about the average span. And if we're able to get people up and running in the game very quickly because the controls are pretty intuitive. And if you've ever watched Star Trek, it very much follows that metaphor with how the bridge works and what those functions are and how things go there. Zoom in with your mouse wheel.
Oh no, we have a desperate plea from DS5. The enemy may have overrun us. We're doomed. Remember us.
So this is our communications system. We're going to get information that shows up here that tells us about different things that are going on from different ships. We'll hear that somebody's maybe under attack. We can do things over here to look at we can filter our friendly ships. These are civilians, and Kralians are one of the types of enemies. There are also monsters sometimes out there that exist, space monster things. We can also raise red alert. And you'll see that we get a sound effect and we get the little red going there. We got an LED strip that gives us indicators of what's going on. With individual ships like our enemies, we can click on them and then we can hail them to talk to them first. They go, oh, hey, Kralians cannot talk right now. Kralian's very busy getting ready to destroy you. We can ask them to surrender. They may say, no, we're not going to surrender. But if they're hurt, they might be more apt to have that happen. And science is if they do a deep scan, we can find out information about the captain. And sometimes these taunts can work and attract the enemy ship to you. We can also give orders to friendly vessels. So a friendly vessel, we could say, we're going to hail them. We can give orders and we can tell them to head to a location, attack or protect or stop if they're going someplace, so that we can give them important information to get our mission accomplished. We also have favorites that we can do. But in a nutshell, that's comms. There you go. Good job.
Keep him in the middle, Mark.
You've got a good pilot here, Captain.
Keep him in the middle. Keep him in the middle.
So keep them in our targets. Now you see that uses energy, but we're okay. We've got a lot of bases we can go to and get our energy back. This is the helm. The helm drives the ship. It works easiest with the joystick. That's the most natural for most people to use. Use a joystick, use a trigger to control your thrust. Spacebar will stop you. You get an ecliptic in the plane because you can rise up and down. Some 3D motion going on there. You also have a compass, 360 degrees surrounding your ship. So we get a bearing, usually from scientists, for an enemy that they've seen far off or a starbase that we're going to be going to. And we'll set that bearing. We can either click on it with the mouse, and you'll see that the ship will change rotation to that. This also gives, this is our weapons arc, so forward and rear and side rear weapons arcs. We don't have one directly behind us, but we have a lot that we can hit up front. We also have the ability to raise and lower shields. And when we get within 500 meters of a station, we can initiate a dock. A dock is going to recharge all of our energy as well as any weapons that we have. Both weapons and the helm are able to raise and lower shields. And they also are in control of the viewport. We have, if you look at the main screen, this is what we normally see here. So there's our ship, and we get different types of information telling us where other things might be in relation to us. And we get our little status of our vessel up on the left-hand side, as well as an indicator there like we're facing bearing 323 right now. We can change this view, though, to tactical when we're in combat. And the captain may ask for that, because that's really useful when we're in combat, right? We can see all the other ships that we're fighting or where our base is if we need to get to that and refuel. We also have LRS, which is long-range scan, and that's pretty much the entire sector, so we can see all of the things going on in different places. We only can see what sciences can give us, so if sciences can't see it yet, we're not going to see anything up there. So in a nutshell, that is driving the ship. We also have a front view, left, right, back. We can track a ship, or we can also chase cam and inside, but we don't tend to do inside view very much. People tend to like to see the ship from outside, so it's...
I think they're
gone.
Okay,
Let's go. First down.
Good job, you got the bad guys.
Hey.
Alright.
So the next station over here, and we kind of have this laid out like Star Trek mostly. In most instances, we're going to have these two next to each other, but it's best that they're next to each other because helm and weapons, if you have only 2 players, you can play a lot of missions just with helm and weapons alone. But weapons has the full complement available to them on what they can fire. Again, they have the same types of viewports. They have the shields. Here, you'll see our vessel, and we can zoom in and out. I forgot to show you this before with the mouse wheel, which is really useful. We can also click on objects. Now, if we click on objects, we're going to fire. I don't want to fire on a friendly vessel right now. So the blues are friendly, reds are bad guys, and yellows are usually our bases. These cloud-like objects are nebulae. When we go inside of a nebula, we're reduced to speed, just like it was in Wrath of Khan. You can't go very fast. You can't. Your sensors are very limited, and a lot of other effects can happen too. So, and sometimes your shields don't work, which is really bad. We have multiple vessels that you can choose that are available to you. The helm does that before we start the game. And each of those have different types of weapon complements, energy, forward and rear shields, as well as these, which are torpedo tubes. Now here, before we get to the torpedo tubes, let's talk about the beam frequencies. So we have Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo. We have 5 different frequencies that bad guys could be vulnerable to. And we want to set that so if we're firing on somebody, we want to hit them on the most vulnerable frequency that they're at. We can also cycle the beams quicker or less quick. That's usually the maximum. And one thing too, we talk about all these are torpedo types. Homing are more like a photon torpedo. You're gonna click on an object, fire that, and it's gonna go after that thing. Nukes are pretty bad because they not only do a lot of damage, but they can damage friendly vessels and things, but they're good to take out sometimes clusters of enemies. Usually we want to hit them with an EMP though first. An EMP is an electromagnetic pulse weapon, which tends to disrupt their shields. So hit them with an EMP, follow really quick with a nuke. You can sometimes take out like 3 or 4 ships at the same time, which is really useful. Mines and mines, EMPs, and nukes can affect you as well and friendly ships, so you have to be careful with those. You don't want to blow up a base or anything like that. Mines you drop behind your vessel, and they will explode when something comes within proximity and hit those. We only have a certain number of torpedo tubes. Those are right there. We'll select a type of weapon. Let's say I want to choose an EMP, and then you choose load. And then you'll see that it'll load into the tube. Once it's done loading, you'll see fire light up, and then we can fire that weapon. If we want to unload and load another type, we just click unload. It'll take a few moments to do that. And we only have 2 tubes, and once they are loaded, we can't fire anything until we cannot load anything additional into them until we fire a weapon. So that, in a nutshell, is what weapons does. Now, one other thing too is upgrade. Sometimes power-ups get dropped by enemies. Sometimes they exist out in space and we just find some things. These are useful to different stations. If it's useful to me, I will see it light up as green, and then I can select it and use that. So upgrades are, again, these are things that we can pick up in space that are really cool. They can help you do all of these different things that they talk about. Usually it's for a set period of time, or it gives you a certain value of something. Now, if it's useful to me at my station, it'll be highlighted green. If not, it will not be highlighted. So certain times you're going to want to save them. Other times we use them right away. And sometimes we come across derelicts or wreckage, and we want to destroy that, just hitting it with beam weapons, and then we can pick up, sometimes a power-up might get dropped there. Or an upgrade. It's a type of power-up. So I'll go back to the regular weapons console so we can switch back and forth between upgrades and weapons at any time. Takes a little bit of a lag there. In addition to controlling the front screen, weapons can do that as well as helm. And here we also see an indicator of our shields. Now, shields will automatically come back. They'll recycle, and engineering can help us do that, but they take time. So anytime our energy is too low, we need to try to find a base to dock to. If one's not too close, we do have another option. There is a 2 energy and 2 torpedo. So if we need to convert a torpedo, we can take a torpedo and convert it to energy form. And so that'll give us a temporary boost to energy. We do lose a weapon in the process, but it might be useful. And alternatively, if we're swimming in energy and we're dealing with a bad guy and we're running out of different things, the only thing we can really use for this, by the way, is the homing torpedoes. So we can convert a homing torpedo to energy if we're really low and need a little bit of a boost to get us to a base. In effect, that's weapons. So sciences, where do we need to go? Tell the captain.
Let the captain know how bad it is out there.
So science is, just like this is Mr. Spock's station on Star Trek, right? So when Spock scans things, he's finding out information. Well, we do the same type of thing in Artemis. So we can zoom out, zoom in, and any object that we want to pick, like this is a bad guy, it's in red. So if I want to find out information about them, I will click on them, and it gives me some basic information. I have that this is a Kralian, its designation is M94, that's its range, and bearing. We give the bearing to our helm and tell them a rough range, and they can get there. We also know whether they have a lot of shields or not. Once we've targeted the vessel, we can click on scan. You see that scan is now going up, and you see this bar here? It gives us an indication of how protected they are at these different frequencies with their shields from our beam weapons. So this one is vulnerable on the delta. So we would want to tell our weapons to target them on delta. Not all vessels are going to be the same. So if there's a second vessel there, I might look at that one and see what it's got. But it also happens to be on delta. Now sometimes you'll average it out and say, oh, they're also vulnerable on epsilons or echo. So we can use that one instead. So there are options there that you can still do a lot of damage but not have to be worrying about which one is which and changing all that over. Once we've targeted them, we can go to deeper scans. But you have to go in order. So you have to complete each scan level before you can go to the next. Now this is nice because we get a little message. The captain was recently overheard bragging about his spotless reputation in a space bar. We could use that to taunt that captain to have them follow us. instead of attacking the base, maybe the base is really getting hammered, we can have them get distracted and come after us by having this info and giving that over to our comms. And sometimes the bio gives us a little bit more information, sometimes not. But really, this is more of a biological scan, and we have certain science missions where you do scans for biological entities or whatever that we're trying to find. You can also click on different objects here in the targeting area, and you can filter them. And you can also follow specific ones. Let's say I want to do that one. I can say I'm going to follow it, and I'm going to set that to 0. So, and then anytime I click 0, it should target that vessel for me automatically. So those are some really useful functions that scientists can do. Now they can see quite far away, but sometimes they need to have their scanners boosted, and we'll ask engineering for additional power in order to do that. And again, when we go inside these nebula objects, we can have problems reduced. But because scientists can see so far away, they can say, oh, you know, we might have an enemy over here, look out for the asteroids. But when we're setting courses for things, let's get one of those enemies in there again. So I'll target that one. There's their bearing, there's their shield values. So I'll give that information to my crewmates or my captain and let them know that stuff. And we've got the same types of stuff over here for this other vessel, which is easier to go after. Here you can also, as we start doing damage to them, we can say, hey, they're lower on forward shields, hit them from the front. They're lower on rear shields, hit them from the back. Or, you know, we have to worry about our own shields too. But this gives us options when we're engaging the enemy. And that's sciences in a nutshell. Where we're at, and where the enemies are at for you.
Where are the enemies?
I don't know. I don't remember exactly. They're
One of the great things is any of these stations can be taken over. So if you need to take over for another station, you can do that in the game. So that's a good example, because right now we're having issues with engineering. Finish it here. Okay, so engineering here, you can see there's a diagram of the ship. So it shows us all the different types of components. Now each of these, if you click on them, will tell you a little bit. Like that's officers' quarters. The beds are quarters. This is a rally point. This might be another rally point in a hallway. There's the galley. And here are your crews. Now there's AI that runs your crews so that when your ship gets damaged, you'll see the actual places on your ship turn red. And the crews that are closest are going to head there first. They'll do it automatically, but you can click and send them over to there now by giving them a work order. I have not played with one new other aspect in this game, but there is one where if you are tired, you send them to sleep. If you're hungry, you send them to go eat in the galley. If they're weak, then you're going to boost, gym. You can go gym or the mess or to their quarters. You can give them orders for that stuff. You have filters for your tools and your crew here. So there's that. But the important thing that engineering can do that nobody else can do is boost our systems. Right now, everything is at a default of 100%. If we want to boost it up, we can boost it beyond that with these different sliders. You'll notice when I boost certain things, I start seeing heat show up. So these are our weapons boosts. When I do that, I have this many coolant levels that I can distribute amongst all of these systems here. So I'm going to make sure that I get a lot of coolant there so they can run boosted for a while, they won't overheat. If they do overheat, they can get damaged and shut down. So it's a management process between the different systems to take them to the levels that they need to be at. There are ways to set defaults. I don't tend to do that much, but that's what some of these functions are for, in order to set standard boosts and other types of conditions for your ship. If you want to zero out your coolant, you just click these little things here. But otherwise, you don't have to go in order. You can just jump up to the coolant level that you want it to be at. I'll just keep one little thing of coolant there. These are unused. You can see any green that we have there is a coolant that we can apply to another system. And as you can see, once you start applying it, it balances out, and we can't go beyond these levels. Once you see the gray, we hit those and we're stuck. We have weapons systems that we can boost, both the beam and torpedo. It doesn't matter what. I think it only affects homing torpedoes for that. Impulse is your non-warp speed, so usually when you're in combat we're using impulse. You can boost that or lower that. Same with warp. I believe it only goes up to warp 3 in this game. Maneuverability. Some ships are not very maneuverable, so when you're in combat you might want to boost that to be able to deal with stuff, or you're having trouble picking up a power-up. It's like, okay, let's boost that maneuverability a little bit if we're in a big clunky vessel. Sensors are often really good when you're in between combat to get information, but sometimes even in combat to give us information about something, we might boost it there. And then finally, and you see that there are two different systems associated with one coolant tank area. So we also have shields. So shields, you can boost your forward shields, your rear shields. That gives you a little bit of extra capability, and it also will recharge those systems automatically much more quickly. Again, we can't go beyond our complement of weapons that you see there. The number that we currently have is at the left, and the number total that we have available to us is on the right. And in a nutshell, that is what engineering does. It keeps the ship running and takes our systems and makes sure that everything is working a-okay and that we can improve our systems for our crew.
There is more enemies.
You don't need to like people to come play. But
Now finally, the captain. The captain sits over in a chair, and the captain has only the screen in front of them and their crew spread out here. And so the captain's job is to accomplish the mission, right? And to keep the crew coordinated. So a good captain is going to gain information from the different stations, or even request that a station do something. Like they may say, comms, what's our current mission? Oh, we need to go to Starbase DS, we need to go to DS2. So sciences, give us a bearing for DS2. Helm, set that course in and go there. So, and then when we get there, ask them to dock. If we're dealing with enemies, we might say, sciences, scan that vessel. We need to give the frequency to weapons. Weapons, I want you to target them at the rear. You know, so you as a captain, you're going to incorporate all of these different types of things that are capable for your crew, but you're going to help your crew. You're a facilitator. You're a team leader, and trying to get everybody to work together on the same team to accomplish the mission. So it's a really engaging, it's an immersive environment. This is actually my favorite position. I like to, I'm good at leadership personally in my regular life, but I also understand the whole concept of everything. And I think when you do, it really makes you a better leader in knowing how to accomplish missions and to get the objectives accomplished, and also to have your crew be more integrated and working together. They start kind of falling into order and start getting into a pattern that works really well, and highlighting their individual skills and what they're good at those stations really helps. But that's, in a nutshell, that's Artemis. Good job, crew. Good job. Captain's happy,
if
right?
you're serious about it, you should put your name on the list.
It can be played online. You can do things coordinated over the internet in different ways. We don't tend to do it that much. You're going to deal with latency, a little bit of lag sometimes. But there's always a server that you're going to be connecting with. There's a server, that's the server that we're dealing with right now. And the server runs the whole game. So each of these are clients. So it's a client-server architecture and can hook up. One thing that we don't include here but is available are fighters, that you can launch fighters in certain missions. They can move around. And another thing too is that we have one other, normally you work with warp engines, but there's also a version of the game, or a version in the game that, or not a version, there's an option within the game where you can trigger the warp, instead of using warp drive, you use a jump drive. So it allows you to set a bearing and you kind of guesstimate distance and you can jump through space. And it uses a bit of energy, but it's kind of fun. We have one person we play with a lot who is a jump drive expert, and she always gets us behind the enemy so that we're able to hit them from behind. So it's really good to have somebody who's good at that function when you deal with those, but you don't have to play it that way. So there are a lot of options. In fact, everything has variable levels that you can deal with the difficulty.
Attack!
Captain says, "Oh, we won!
Oh,
Oh, we lost!
can look.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed this. And don't forget to leave me a comment if there's anything that you want me to cover in the future. Have a great day. Bye.